Welcome everybody. My name is Kim McCall, and together with Michiko and Magali, we host the Bridge Book Club. And for our first book in 2024, we are really happy to have the authors Fernanda and Mariana Schweitzer with us, and we'll be reading their book, Self-Care, A Dynamic Approach to Integral Health. Now, everybody here is a long-standing book club member, but just in case people tune into this to want to catch up with the book afterwards, who are not familiar with the book club, the Bridge Book Club is run by ISIC, which is a not-for-profit, volunteer-based group which is committed to the internationalization of conscientiology. Conscientiology is a discipline, the study of consciousness from a multidimensional, holistic perspective. And in the book club, we discuss books that relate in different ways to consciousness. And in this case, we're looking at health from the perspective of consciousness. So the purpose of the book club is for us to read and learn together. And as on this occasion, we have the authors here. We encourage people here, and if you join us later and you're watching this, to take advantage of the fact that we have the people here to ask questions and discuss the ideas that we're reading about. When we read books in conscientiology, it is really about self-experimentation and growth. So we're not just here to read some interesting ideas, but we're here to engage with these ideas in an experiential way, to see how they apply to our life, and to also notice how the subject matter might start appearing in our life. So sometimes we found this quite often when we're reading books here, we find that life events start aligning around the subjects that we are studying. And it's really a good opportunity to take advantage of this and to keep note of those things, even outside of these sessions, to get the most return of the energy that we're investing in coming to these meetings and reading these books, right? We're wanting to use them to help us grow and get greater lucidity in different areas of our life. And in this case, an area that's really fundamental to us living a good physical life, which is integral health. So as with all our activities, we're always encouraging everybody to not believe in anything that's discussed here. Don't believe the ideas that are being presented, but to approach them with an open mind, but also a questioning mind, and to experiment and to have your own experiences. And just in terms of the format, we will have a presentation by Fernanda and Mariana, and there will be plenty of time for discussion. And I don't know if you have exercises for us. We'll look forward to that. I suspect you probably do. Depending on how we go, we'll have might go into breakout rooms. I'm not quite sure. We're a small group today, but again, we'll be guided by you. But yeah, unless there's anything else, Magali and Michiko, I think we're good to hand over to you, Fernanda and Mariana.
Thank you very much for having us, Kim, Magali, and Michiko. I am Mariana. It's a pleasure to be here and be part of this movement. I understand that when we are planning a work like this, a lot of work is involved. And Fernanda and me, we're really happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Yes, we are really happy to be part of it. And I know you are also preparing a big event this October. And I hope we can connect these teams, because self-care and the serenology are connected. In self-care is about you, and serenology is about cosmos, but it's all about harmonizing, find out the harmonic ways to express yourself.
And maybe we can start sharing a little bit of our story to, invite everybody to read the book. And you will find this information in preface and introduction that what we will discuss on March 16. So if you want to continue with us in this club, and then on 27th of April, we will start with chapters 3, 4, and 5. That is a lot about consciential health, as Kim was saying about after we start talking about the conception of health and care, something that we will discuss today. So if you're here, don't worry, we will start to talk about this already. But we will also talk about integrative health, and on April 27, we'll start to talk about consciential health and research in health and the relations between health and consciousness. And this is a big step. Usually when we talk about health, we usually talk about very biomedical concept of health. And me and Fernanda, we have a background that is very interesting. We're both from Brazil. We're both from a little island in the south of Brazil, where we were exposed from a very young age to many different concepts of health and care. And this influenced our knowledge and our way of working with health. We're both from the health background. I am a nurse. Fernanda is a physician. We did college at the same time in the same university, and we discuss a lot with ourselves and with our families and with our colleagues in the university. And we start to build up this approach, a dynamic approach to integral health. And after some time with, lots of specializations and studies. And basically after my PhD, we start to write this book. So we launched the book in Portuguese in 2021. And then we started to talk about the book and start to do translation product, because we thought it would be very interesting to have this material in English, because some of these ideas are, known from people. Some of them are very new, and the approach we do, it's very unique. We have been talking about this with over 1,000 people in different workshops and in different courses in Brazil. I'll talk a little bit more of this. And we had an experience of talking about the book in English when I was at McGill University in 2022. And it was very good to have all of this. But if you want to continue with us, we will have meetings on May and June also. And then on May, we'll talk about integrative healthcare and the co-development of care. And in June 15, it will be our last encounter, and we'll talk about self-care and self-awareness and self-research. So we have a long way to go, but we're very excited to start today, inviting everyone to continue with us in this journey. And then discussing all of these subjects is supposed to be very interesting encounters where we'll present some of the concepts and some of the ideas, and then we'll discuss them, and we'll invite everybody to do some exercise, because our tools are all available in English in our website. We'll talk about the website. And if you want to start today with your self-care canvas, you can do it, because we'll talk a little bit about this. So this is just a brief introduction of how we are thinking, organizing this work. So we're good to go. Any doubts?
Thank you so much. Yeah, that sounds really good. And so today you'll also do a bit of a presentation, right, about the general outline and
yes, absolutely. So
let's launch into that.
Good. So this is our plan for today. We'll talk about a health timeline, how the concepts of health and care evolved during time. We will present to everybody the concept of integrative health. Maybe some people know it already, and we will talk about again. But for people that are not familiar with the concept, we will present it. And then we'll present the concept of self-care, the triads of self-care that we developed in the book, and our method of promoting self-care. We call it FEMA method. And the 4 steps we bring, and the self-care tools. That will be the self-care canvas, and also a timeline of health and disease and care. Because sometimes people they don't know where to start. Okay, I do want to do some self-care, but so many things to do. How do I start? So we will present a way to help, sharpen a little bit the objective of the self-care. So this is our summary for today. And we would like to learn a little bit about you, if that's possible.
Hi, my name is Fernanda. I live in Foz do Iguaçu, and I'm interested in self-care since my mom have me, and I just cried since the first day of my life, and she was really worried about that. And then she learned and read and have had a lot of books how to help kids, how to deal with these little illnesses. And she was in our pediatrician and told him she thought I had worms, probably this is the word, but I was just 3 months of old. And then she began to discuss with our physician if this was really what was going on. So this is what our mom did to help us to comprehend self-care. So you go and find out your answers, and this is how we have so much stimuli to be here today. So I believe we have had a lot of different opportunities to deal with homeopathic, with massage, with a lot of teas, a lot of traditional medicine in our childhood. And I think this helped me to comprehend this is not something you offer to a professional, but you conduct for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I am Mariana. I am living in São Paulo city, here in São Paulo state in Brazil. And as Fernanda was saying, we come from a family that is really into this self-care co-production. And we have a very longevous family. Our grandparents, they're all over 900 years, and we still have a grandmother that she's becoming 94 years old. And it's very strong in our family to build up, what you need to think about when you're taking care of yourself. So this is something that will always become part of our conversations and discussions. And we bring a little bit of this approach in our preface in the English version of the book, not only in the Portuguese version, but in the English version, we present a little bit of this construction of different traditional medicine and biomedical medicine here in Brazil, especially because we have some policies that are implemented and influence the way we think about care here. And I'm sure you have many influences in your life for self-care. And after this brief introduction, we want to invite to a reflexive moment. And this will be to invite you by yourselves at home, if you have, papers or in your computer or anywhere you want. We would like you to think about the concepts. What is integral health for you? Before we present the timeline, just, warm up and do a brainstorm, write down what is integral health and what is the concept of self-care for you. Because then we will present the concepts and then you'll see, okay, it was really similar. Okay, I just forgot that. Oh, wow, this is really interesting. After this introduction, we want to invite you to, maybe write a little bit about what is the concept of integral health, because this is some of the ideas that you bring, the interest of self-care. But it is a very, well said concept, but what do you understand from it? What aspects of self-care that you understand too? So we could, just take a few minutes to do that. Good. Okay. So we warm up, we present how we will do the work, and now we'll give some of the concepts and we will talk about them together. Usually when we do this course, we do exactly the same way. We invite you to think about the concepts and what is integral health and what is self-care, because then we will present to you how these concepts have changed over time. And we really like this slide. It's a lot of information, please don't be, shocked. What we invite you to think here is about the concepts and how they have changed over time. And what we do is, usually when we think about the concept, we are thinking about a very Western way of understanding these concepts, even in Brazil, the way we're doing here. And what we want to bring to you is that in the old age, we have concepts of health, disease, and care from traditional Chinese medicine. I'm specialized in that. Fernando is also doing information on that. And also Ayurveda medicine from India. What we think about the concepts, it's a concept of movement. So you will have health, but you will also have disease, and you take care of those in a way that we do not understand in values, like, oh, good health, bad disease, but in a movement. And we bring concepts of energy. So traditional Chinese medicine, it brings the concept of energy, meridians, the acupuncture points, and moxibustion, and different practice, not only one practice, but different practices, and even body-mind movements. For example, Tai Chi, Qi Kung, that they work with the movement of the body, not only the physical body, but also this energetic body. And also when we think about Ayurveda medicine, we have the chakras, we have meditation, we have the idea of taking care of your food intake, right amounts of oily food and also dry food, and the bitter and the sweeter. This is all important for your body. And also when you do meditation, you're connecting yourself with your thoughts and what you're thinking about something. And when you're doing yoga or you're doing, relaxation and stretching, this is very important for the body. And for a long time, I have been doing this. And recently I had the opportunity to visit Thailand, and they do work with lots of massage in Thailand, traditional medicine. And it's amazing how they connect all the body through massage. And also they do a lot of stem bath, and then aromatic and stem bath, and how this is all connected to promoting your health. But also when you have a disease, it's not something that you want to cut off your body, but to understand how your body is working and how it can be managed and change it or not, because disease is part of life. This idea of health and disease as bound together have changed when we think about the Middle Age. When we think about even before, when we think about Greece and where it all became together in, this time of Greece. And here we have the father of medicine, Asclepius, and then their daughters. And then we have hygiene. So hygiene is a concept that is very important from Greek times and even before, but also the idea of one panacea. That is the idea of, one pill that would solve all your problems, or the idea that only one thing would change and then you'll never be ill again. So these are concepts that started connecting some idea from the West and the East, but the idea of magical thinking, and then the weather was important for your body and your health. And we know that it's very important today, but in this time we start to think about this. And then in the Middle Age, what happened is we started, especially because of religion, to include values to health and disease. So if you were a good person, you would be healthy. If you were a good citizen, you'd be healthy. If you took care of your family, you would be healthy. But then, when disease happened, people would be like, you're paying for something. Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe it is something that you should, rethink your life, because that's bad for you. And you want to finish and end all the diseases all the time. And this is very particular for this period of time, especially because knowledge was restricted to some of the monasteries, and we will be not, developing people for their knowledge and their construct. But then when we think about health, disease, and care, we would put the idea of the care for someone else, but not everybody would have access, to the caretakers. And then caretakers will be wearing these masks, when we have the first pandemics and everything, because we did not understand what was going on. So the extreme opposed idea of this was what we did in modern age with Renaissance and the influence of the Cartesian method. And we start to put science into the knowledge of health. But you see this image of the body as, a working machine, because then we start to understand every part of the body and how it was connected to our health and how the body would be working. But then I really like this image because the mind, the head of the body is cut off, because we had so much of this, magical thinking and then this religion approach to health, that when we start to do the Cartesian method, we cut it off and said, this is a body, it's a machine. We just need to change some parts and then we'll be good to go. And this is something that is still influence the way we understand health and care today. Okay, is our body really this machine working for our health or not? And what's wrong with me because it's not working correctly? And what am I doing to change this? So all of these concepts are part of the way we understand health. Sometimes we'll be like, okay, I want to do some meditation, or I want to work with the energies of my body. But you know what? I really wanted to just change this part that's not working anymore. I'm tired of feeling pain. And then what we have is the difference between single cause models, and how we understand this changed over time. So when we start to understand, the diseases come from some worm or from some bacteria or from some virus, we wanted to finish and end this problem by taking medicines. But over time, this was only true for infectious diseases. And even for COVID, we understand that it's not a single cause model, because we understand many aspects influence for people to get very ill and even die from COVID, different from other people that get it. So we start to understand in the contemporary age, the multi-cause models. Is that the way I understand? It's not only one thing that will influence for me to develop a disease, but I have the epidemiological transition. In some countries, people are not dying from infectious diseases if it's not a pandemic, but they have more chronic diseases. And how do we take care of chronic diseases? And this is a very big challenge, not only for the patients, but also for the healthcare practitioners, that they learn to eliminate the disease. And then when they need to work with a patient that has a chronic disease, they'll be like, okay, so you will just continue to live with that? And how are we going to manage this? And it's so difficult for both of them to work in this aspect of the multi-cause models. And then we have here the idea of all the aspects that influence the concepts of health. The socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental conditions. This is very important. We are a changing, environment world that is always inviting us to consider this aspect. And we have the living and working conditions, not to culpabilize people for their health, but to understand, okay, if I do drink lots of sugary drinks, your body will ask for it. So you better rethink that. If I, continuously use tobacco, this will have a price for my health. So we need to understand the living and the working conditions. We need to, promote adequate working conditions so people have vacation and free time, and we do not have so much burnout and everything. And also education and the way we understand the health and their service and employment, how this influence. This is very important. We never can forget about this. But also the social and community networks. We have seen countries promoting, say hello to your neighbor, very slow lines so people can talk in the market, because people are feeling a lot of loneliness, especially older people. So we see in countries promoting this. The sense of community is very important when you think about contemporary age, but also when we think the old age. When we have mind and body, groups, they were promoting a network of people and these social encounters. So when we put together these graph that we have here of the economic and cultural and environmental conditions together with the social and community networks, and of course, the individual lifestyle factors, age, and the conditional factors, all of these influence our health. But this is not very new ideas. These come from a long timeline of evolving ideas and concepts of health and care. And what we have today is One Health. You know, we need to take care of the environment, we need to take care of the animals, and we need to take care of ourselves. And this is something that WHO, the World Health Organization, has been promoting in an integrative way since the 1970s. And many countries have adopted this idea of integrative health and promoting traditional knowledge of health, traditional medicine. For a long time, we have vanished and finished this traditional medicine and traditional knowledge, but we haven't been promoting this since the moment we start to rethink colonization and how we are decolonizing the concepts of health and including more traditional medicine into these concepts. So what we have here in Brazil, for example, is since 2006, we have a national policy that integrates over 29 complementary therapies into our national health system. A national health system that is free for everybody, that is based on universal health coverage. This is very important. Many countries do not have it, and we need to promote universal health coverage and also integrative health with these concepts that are evolving all this time. So where are you in this timeline? Did you end up in some time? You know what? I'm always thinking of my body as a machine. Maybe I stopped there. Oh, no. Maybe I did go to the sinkholes models and I really want a pill that would solve everything, but I forgot everything about the old age and energetic concepts of health and care. So when we think in this timeline, this is the invitation we do. And sometimes we'll be talking to patients and talking to fellow colleagues, care practitioners, and we'll think about, okay, maybe your specialization in health will bring to you, I stop in time, something between the modern age, and we really like to cut it off at people. And this is just an exercise I like to do. I hope you enjoy it. Go ahead, Kim.
Could you just say something more about magical thinking? And you've got it next to Hippocrates, because I associate Hippocrates with the Hippocratic Oath. He's kind of like the founder of medicine. I think I don't know anything about it really, but that's how it's often presented. But he's next to magical thinking there. So what's that connection?
Yes, absolutely. They are not connected. It's just in this time between, old age and middle age, we had lots of magical thinking related to health. And this was especially in traditional medicine. We even have it today. Oh, you will be ill because of something that happened. And when Hippocrates came, he invited us to change that. Okay, it's not so magical. We have, some approaches that we need to consider, some elements, the 4 elements, the 5 elements from traditional Chinese medicine, and everything is connected. So he invited us to come out of this magical thinking way and then bring some systematic way of presenting health. And because of that, he's the father of medicine. So this is something that came between, but magical thinking is also a way of colonizing that thinking. So this is why we still are rethinking this approach. And then when we talk about traditional medicine today, and especially indigenous knowledge, we don't want to use these terms no more. We want to understand what is the invitation this knowledge is bringing to us and how we can work together. And many of these traditional medicines and what we would call in this way, it's something that we simply did not understand. We wanted to control. This is something that it's very common, especially in the modern age. We want to control everything. We want to control this machine. We want to control populations. And this is something we want to, rethink in a contemporary age, especially when we are thinking One Health. And we've seen that it's very hard to control the environment and how we need to really understand it and promote it together. So that's why we like to include this. Thank you for pointing out. Was it more clear? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
It's interesting what you've been saying, because even in psychology now, like here in Australia, I could go to a conference and see how much is important for the psychologists here, understand the Aboriginal culture and social and spirituality to deal with it, you know, because what makes some people happy and healthier is related with their culture and their social thing. And I don't know if I read the chapters, but maybe we are in between an introduction and reading the chapters. Now, probably some people will still reading it. And but one thing that called my attention was this thing that you just mentioned, that is how important it is to the social thing of say hello to your neighbor and be part of a society and have this feeling of groupality, and how important social connections is for us humans, right?
We sometimes, Magali, I believe as a psychologist, it's easy for you to get, but sometimes we idealize how our brain works. We idealize we can stay in the middle of a chaos, but be okay. We idealize we can not practice happiness or love or connection, but this doesn't we won't miss this. But it's not true. Our brain needs some food, some stimulus all the time to work in the better way. So it's an Cartesian model. You can just direct your body and your brain the way you want, just because you desire. It's not true. And this is self-care. So we need to, we're going to talk a lot about this, but we need to comprehend this physiology and this paraphysiology, all the energetic and other bodies together, to make it work in the better way, in a connective way. So connecting with somebody, it's about connecting with ourselves too. What do I feel? What do I think? What do I desire? What I'm silencing inside that maybe I shouldn't.
Okay, this timeline is always very promoting, you know, okay, how is my family in this timeline? Sometimes we think about it, but don't worry. We will speed up a little bit now because we want to bring some ideas now. And the idea that we want to bring to you because of this is how the paradigms of health have changed because of this timeline, and how we have seen, especially World Health Organization has been showing the bending the trends to promote health and well-being. And in this material, it brings to us the possible future balance of the health paradigms. We have seen how we need to connect everything and how we need to understand the medical paradigm together with the preventive one and the health promotion paradigm. Okay, so what do we need to do now to be able to live healthy in my 50s, in my 60s, and my 80s? And then the future, how we want to see this being connected. And sometimes I'll be more for preventive, sometimes I'll be more for promotion, and then sometimes I'll be just, you know, doing what I need to do to go on this day. But the future will be dominated by what is considered radical in the old system. And some of the ways of doing are essential for the viability of the future system and need to be retained. So we need to bring this together. We don't want to put more value to one than the other, but we need to promote socialization and also vaccines. We need to bring all of the approaches. We can use the best of all the paradigms to change the way we understand health. And we want to do that because when we think about these paradigms, we are thinking about what we understand that are the healthcare dimensions. For example, when you wrote down about your integral health concept, did you include the psycho and the biological? As Adina should bring to us, we need to consider the physical. It is very important. We need to consider the social and the environment, as we have been saying before. And also, as Leonardo's brought to us, we need to include the psycho and behavioral dimension. Are we really taking care of this? We are living a pandemic of psychosocial demands from people, especially after the pandemic. Many people stayed alone by themselves. The pandemic questioned some of their values and how they're connected to their families, and this is brought a lot of different demands for psycho and social and the way that we understand how we need to take care of our mental health care, how we are taking care of those. We're just, living lives. Just a quick example, I do work this class and the self-care approach with my physician students in the undergrad courses. And when we invite them to do the self-care canvas, they'll be like, no, I don't want to do this now. I'm just 22 years old. Okay, so when you want to do that, take care of your mental health and take care of your demands of health. Oh, probably when I, stop working, when I retire, that will be a good time to think about self-care. Okay, it's also important, but maybe we can start something right now. And one dimension that is usually forgotten or not considered is the energetic and spiritual dimension. I know this group here have been, probably including this dimension, but I always like to point out. And when we include the different paradigms and the dimensions, then we arrive in a concept of integrative health. This one is from the strategic plan for NCCIH. And the concept is very big, but probably it will be somewhere in what you've written. So you have here to read with attention, but what we want to highlight is that integrative health brings convention and complementary approaches together. So we do want to use everything we can, all the paradigms we have in health, and take care of all the dimensions. Integrative health also emphasizes multimodal interventions. So I need to be aware that not only one intervention by itself will be enough. I will need to, physical care and then mental health and then everything together. And which are 2 or more interventions in a conventional medicine. And I will need to be aware that I will have to consider lifestyle changes, physical rehabilitation, psychotherapy, and complementary health approaches in various combinations, with an emphasis on treating the whole person rather than, for example, one organ system. So this is not new. This is from, the old ages when we think about traditional medicine. But the invitation that we have been doing, this is still working on until 2025. This is the invitation we want everybody to think about. Okay, so what will I include in my self-care plan? And when we think about it, there are many integrative health practices and therapies. Maybe you heard about it. WHO has been doing an atlas, and it identified that acupuncture, herbal medicines, and indigenous traditional medicine are the most popular used traditional and complementary medicines. And we have a long list of practices. Have you ever tried one of those? Have you ever heard about it? For example, apitherapy. It's a very nice name for using honey and honey-derived products like pollen or these products that we have, in candy. And probably everybody have been taking a honey candy in the past, or it will use in the future. So, for example, here we have this material that presents the national policy of integrative and complementary practices in Brazil. And we have a list of 29 practices that everybody can use in the national health system. The city where I live, São Paulo City, we have over 450 primary healthcare services in the health network, and 100% of them offer complementary therapies. It's either acupuncture, auriculotherapy, a group of integrative community therapy, meditation group. So we have promoting this in the primary healthcare services because people need to have access. And also what we call laying on hands that are included in this national health policy. So we have many practice on this. And the idea here is not only to promote different, practices, but also to promote what we forgot sometimes in the biomedical, but not completely, but the human aspects of care. So when we work with complementary therapies, yes, go ahead, sorry.
Can you come back just one information, of course, some of you know Brazil, but we don't have these practices offered so easily. For example, I live in Foz do Iguaçu. We don't have in the public system this practice offered, but it's important that they are included, and it's a construction, and because they are validated as health perspectives, because sometimes we don't think it's a proper way to taking care of our health using some of them. And when you include this in a national policy, you are saying, okay, you can either go to use modern medicine, or you can use homeopathy, or you can use both together. It has the same value to us. So it's important. And sometimes in our mind, because we are consciousness living in a very physical world. So sometimes it's not easy to connect these ideas in our mind. So when I have some illnesses, what pop up in my mind? I'm not okay. I did something wrong. Or what are the challenges it's coming to me? Well, do I have an evolutive crisis right now? So this kind of changing in our paradigm, in our perspective. And when I see some product, do I think this is health? This is a way of self-care? When I prepare my breakfast, do I consider put a little spoon of honey would be part of my traditional self-care way of living? So these are small steps we need to connect in our mind to live this integrative health. But please continue, Mary.
No, go ahead. This is very nice. Have you used traditional or complementary therapies before? Yes, maybe.
It's very common.
Do you have any? Yeah.
It's very common when I ask the patients, my neck is hurting, my leg is hurting. Do you have you did some massage? Did you pass some oil? People say no. Did you try a warm, how you say, like putting something warm in it? Like no, bolsa de água quente in Portuguese would say.
A warm pack,
water bottle, a heat pack. Yeah.
Yes. Did you try? No. Why? So people don't connect these cares. So sometimes we think we are really living our integrative health, but we don't connect these traditional old ways of caring. This is why it's so important to validate these ideas in our national policy. But please,
I wanted to ask whether in Brazil, indigenous health practices, they're not listed here, but are they sometimes
another national policy? Yeah.
To people, or is that something that?
Yes. So for Brazil to be able to promote traditional and complementary medicines, we have this national policy for complementary therapies that will include let's say imported traditional medicine that are from other places and then come to Brazil. Here in the list, we only have one practice that is 100% Brazilian, that is the integrative community therapy. That is where people get together in groups and discuss their lives, and then brings the idea of community. And then we have another national policy only for plants, medicinal plants, and phytotherapy. It is included here as phytotherapy, but then we have a national policy to include all this. And we do have a national policy for indigenous traditional medicine. And then we have an entire network of promoting healthcare practices and healthcare services to take care of people, to take care of indigenous population within their territories, and also people that are living in the cities and do identify themselves as indigenous. So we have this special network and national policy for them, because we need to, it's even a little bit older than this one. And we also have a national policy for humanization of care. So we understand that these 4 policies, they are especially connected with this approach of traditional and complementary medicine, because they invite us to broaden our concepts of health and care. So this is a very good question, yeah. And what we are trying to do now is, because this national policy of complementary therapies, it has already all the way of systematizing how they are used. So I know how many auriculotherapy and acupuncture has been used, and we do not have this systematization for indigenous traditional medicine, and we are doing this now. So maybe soon we will have everything all connected. So that's good. Okay.
That's interesting, because the indigenous traditional medicine, lots of things has been lost on the way because it was not written. And then in Brazil, they started this project of writing all these medicines that was natural. They know, they pass the information for into the culture, but by oral. Was an oral information. And so together, all these indigenous I don't know how they do here in Australia, but in Brazil, they start a program of writing all these things, try to capture what they can now.
True. And one question that people always brings to, it's, but do they really work? So if you want to know more about the research on this area, we will bring to you in the next encounter. So if it is something that you're like in your, in the back of your head, like, okay, but there's so many, and how does it work? We have lots of research and evidence about these practices. And this is why it's called integrative medicine, because we use the best of the worlds, and we use evidence-based practices. How we have, okay, but do they all have clinical trials and everything? That's a really good question that we will discuss later on with our club. So please stay with us. And another approach that we really like to point out when we think about traditional and complementary medicines are the human aspects of care. We do have this in all the paradigms, but sometimes we do not value them as much. So what we have been seeing, it's a movement of promoting patient-centered care, and ways of promoting autonomy, and the importance of communication skills when we talk about healthcare, the continuity of care, this idea that, I will, resolve this problem now, and then I will never go back to a healthcare practitioner, or will not go back to a healthcare service. No, the care, it's a continuous work, and we need to always think about it every day. That's why the Universal Self-Care Day, it's 24th of July. It's 24/7. So self-care is something that you do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is very cliche, but it's very cute. It's from the WHO. They promote the 24/7 self-care day. And this is the day where me and Fernanda have been always launching our self-care course, completely free in Brazil, for all the healthcare practitioners and community to start to do their journey of healthcare and self-care. And we want to promote patient-centered care and protagonism. This is something that sometimes it's forgotten or misled. Self-care, it's bringing back your protagonism of understanding, okay, why do I have this, when it started, how it evolved, how can I continue to live with it and then live the best of my life, the well-being, as Kim was bringing, the importance of living the well-being. And then the shared decision making. Sometimes we want people to tell us what to do. Sometimes as healthcare practitioners, we want to tell people what they should do, but we need to share and we need to bring this together to do a strong relationship building towards healthcare and towards self-care. And this is very important because when we put all of this together, we see the growing body of knowledge about consciousness, not only about complementary therapies, not only about the importance of the human aspects of care, but also about consciousness. And we have seen many publications. If you haven't seen the Conscious and Healing Initiative, they have this great material about subtle energy and biofield healing. And we have seen many products of bioresonance growing and many methodologies for, diagnosing and then also treating the healing and healing this biofield body. And in the consciential paradigm, this is exactly what we've been talking and seeing. It's the importance of all the bodies, the holosome, and the importance of multidimensionality and the comprehension of multiple lives. So consciential health is the natural condition, a state of dynamic balance or the quality of consciousness regarding personal well-being, holosomatic homeostasis, and harmonious relationship, constituting a resource for self-evolution. So when I think about self-care, I'm thinking about self-evolution. This is the invitation we want to bring everybody to be aware. So I hope this was not too fast. We will talk more about all these aspects in our next encounters, but we wanted to bring, an idea of what we'll be talking about. And now we will pass to Fernanda to continue with our, first meeting.
We've seen this idea of consciential health is the chapter 3 of our book. So for the next encounter, we are going to read the chapter 1 and 2 with prefaces and introduction. But then in the 3, we begin to go more inside these conceptions of conscientiology together. We can go to the next, please, Mary. Who are you with the control? You. And we are going to also see in the chapter 6 of our book, and chapter 8 better, the idea of self-care as we understand it. But now what we must perceive is self-care is like a triad. So because self-care are the actions developed by a person for the benefit of their own life, health, and well-being that contribute to their development and aging. So self-care are actions, is what I practice, but actions is just something, as we comprehend Tosen, is something I think, I feel, and energetically I express. So when that's important, when we think about health, about be limited by some illnesses, be about not be so okay today in some way, what do I think about it? How do I feel about it? How do I express about it? Sometimes I make a joke that as an integral physician, I congratulate people who are ill, who are with some disease. I say, oh, this disease right now, this would be amazing for you. And people say, you are a crazy person. Of course, I'm a crazy person, but what does it mean in the essence? It's, oh, your body is finding out a place to express something new to you, something you can move and evolve. And somehow we look so much forward, evolution. And evolution comes with evolutive crisis, right? Do we know that? We don't want to, but we know. It's not exactly comfortable sometimes to evolve. And we know cosmetic could be a little bit violent and destructive, right? but we don't notice in our lives. But these are the connections we can do. The same way we see a cyclone and we think, oh, the world is transforming, is changing, something is really happening here. We can look inside us and see, oh, what does this illness mean in this moment in my life? What a transformation it's happening, that maybe it's part of my next steps in this, in my challenges, in my praxis, in my way of achieving my goals. So, and somehow we comprehend most part of the uncomfortable feelings we have in the diseases are in that timeline Mariana showed us. The conceptions we apply in our health. Because is this really so bad not to take our ordinary day in the way we thought we would, because we must go slowly, or maybe changing some our routine, our food? Is this really so aggressive, or this is somehow the way I expect my day to be? So these conceptions are in this self-care. We propose a self-care triad that connects the self-knowledge, what's going on, what do I want, what do I want, a really full existential experience? Does it include being ill sometimes? The resources I use to take care of myself, and it will be our network of practitioners, our way of diet, our physical exercise, our sleep times, and the cosmovision. What is this health world that I live into? People have a lot of commercial ads, try to sell me products to be okay, to be good, at any cost. Do I connect to this idea? How do I connect this? So this triad is a way of trying to connect, because let's remember, we are into this very easy commercial and a physical world, and we need to balance this inside, because it's really tempting sometimes. And if you go further, Mary, please, we can see a self-timeline of health, disease, and care that we would like to invite you to fulfill. And it's for you. You don't need to send to us, but please, it's open for download at our website, and you have some instruction. And this is important to plan, to work, to have some trademarks in our life of what is really important. How was our childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and even for our third and fourth age, what do I desire, expect? What do I plan to myself about our health conditions, illnesses, procedures in general, and memories? Memories are something our parents told us of how do we express our health, our care in that time, our aggressions, and also how do I perceive myself in the future in these stages? Please, Kim.
What is the third and fourth age?
Third is between 60 and 80 years old, and fourth age is more than 80 years old. Okay. It's a way of categorizing our life. And if you, so it's for you. We're gonna talk about that in the future, in the next meetings, encounters. But let's go for the next one, please, Mary. And the idea is to reconnect with our health and care history and comprehend what do we look for, how do we manage our own self-care. In a perspective, we can also have our way of doing this and maybe another ways of doing this. And one way we propose to you is FEMA method. We are going to discuss it more in next encounters, but we'd like to give a little bit of an idea here. And if we have 4 steps: find, embrace, move, and again. And please, Mary, these 4 steps are, in the first one, we find out the symptoms, discomforts, feelings, anxieties, disease also, but not just diseases, because most of the uncomfortable feelings we have with health are not categorized as a disease. Sometimes it's just something, it's not okay at all. I don't know, I'm different. I need to understand why my body is different, why something is changing. Also, illnesses, imbalances that demand attentions, wants, interests, and desires. Health professionals who can help. So find the assistance you need, the healthcare professionals who can help you. Models, the models as we show paradigms, rationales that are complementary and alternative medicines that can guide care, health groups, maybe virtual communities, and people relate to the same problem or interest. Then we embrace. These are the most challenging steps, because embracing is comprehend, understand such symptoms, changes, discomforts, decisions, insights, desires, without judgment, without blame, in order to understand oneself and force self-care. So it includes our cosmoethic, our gratitude for being you, for gratitude for our body to expressing a need, compassion for ourselves to having to deal with so many things in this moment of life, for example, that all are organized, and then a desire or a disease comes and make a real mess. And forgiveness about something we didn't took care gratefully or took care properly, because we are not perfect, right? We would like to, probably, but we are not. And this embracement is about accepting this is about us, this is with us, this is for us, not something we want to solve, to take off our lives. And as we grow older, we have even more chronic diseases to take care and to embrace. In Brazil, for example, a person with 60 years old usually have 2 or 3 chronic diseases to take care. So how do we deal with that without embracement, without comprehending it's part of our own history as a person and as a consciousness? Maybe this disease is something that helps me more than brings me problems sometimes. So this balance is up to each one of us. Do you think embracing is a really challenging experience about diseases? Sometimes. Do you look some people around us and see how does this person suffers with a disease she has to deal with every day and for all his life or her life, their lives? And this is about us too. And so we go to the next, that is moving. Moving without embracing is really hard because it's fighting against yourself. Moving with embracement is fighting with your own abilities against something that is somehow an opportunity to you. I know I'm a really crazy person, okay, just a parenthesis here, but we need to consider this perspective. So movies rearrange, recycle to produce the change of symptoms, difficulties, discomforts, or illnesses. Change starts by choosing new goals and targets in relation to the 5 perspectives of health: physical, energetic, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And then we make small moves, and we find out another balance, and then somehow in a moment we'll need to begin it all again, as you see in the next image, the canvas. Please, Mary. So the self-care canvas is a way of organizing these ideas, because it's not very comfortable or easy to prepare ourselves for the 4 steps. Sometimes it's easy, you know, I have the flu, in 3 days I'm okay. Sometimes you have a more longer problem, then you have maybe 1 year, 2 years until it's okay. And sometimes it's for the whole life. And this again idea is about acceptance of just I find just because I'm okay now doesn't mean I won't need to begin in tomorrow a new self-care proposal for my balance. So you have all this canvas too for download, and we are going to talk about it later more, but we want you to have already this tool, because sometimes you want to begin applying. Some people are very practical and want to like to read and practice together. And then we have the next idea, please, Mary. That we have a lot of materials you could use in our website too, Autocuidado. And then you can look for this. We have practiced this in different ways, and this is a new way for us, a new model, practicing in a group in English. So thank you, all of you, for being here with us, for building it together. And next, please.
This is also to present to you that you're not alone in this process. A lot of people, every time we talk about it and then we present the method, like for example, this week I was with a group of graduate students from this university, and we're 250 people. And then it was like a bonus class, because usually this is not what we have during, undergrad or graduation classes in health area. And then they were always bringing how this was important for them in this time of their lives. So it's not by chance that you're here thinking about it. It's probably, it is the right moment to consider these approaches and maybe try to do the tools. And then when Fernanda and I decided to build the website, was to promote the tools. They are for download. You can use it. The people usually bring these tools to talk with their psychologists or to talk with their families, or they give to someone they're driving their very crazy, and then you should try this, and then they give lots of examples how they have been using these tools and how the workshop have changed it. So we have many people that work with us, and then participate or read the book, and then they start a group of self-care in their healthcare service, or they start to take care of other healthcare practitioners in the hospital. You know what? We were really needing to take care of our healthcare professionals. So we started to do the canvas with them. So we have seen many, many people using this material. We have presented in many conferences and workshops. And even in Portuguese, we have a database where people can send their timelines and canvas. So we are bringing this together so we can have this broad idea of what are the challenges of this aspect and how, you know, it will not be only, you know, happy place to do self-care. It will bring you to tears sometimes and reflections and everything. So Fernanda will talk a little bit about the challenge, but we really like this image to show you that you're not alone in this process. A lot of people are trying their best. So let's continue. Go ahead.
It's true. This is so when we think about self-care, we think about some steps and the challenges we face. The first one would be the self-consciousness about your body, your emotion, your energies, right? Then the developing self-knowledge, keep developing it in a self-care perspective. Then broaden health and care conceptions, and broaden it in theory and in practice. So try different evidence-based ways of caring, and not just with practitioners, but in your daily routine by yourself, like having a different kind of tea, a different kind of activity, leisure, going to the nature, walking through a new place, and developing self-research, because self-care is about self-research. It's just, where do I point? Where do I want to go? With which health I want to go to develop self-care. So these challenges are in our idea, in our invitations for you. And then to achieve, please, Mary, to achieve these challenges, we would like to, of course, invite you to keep continuing with us. And we have some self-work to do. Please, Mary. And our self-works are, until our next meeting, to read the preface, introduction, chapter 1 about conceptions of health and care, and chapter 2 about integrative health. Please write it down, take notes in the book, in some paper, in your computer, and make a list of traditional and complementary medicines you've already experienced. And remember, sometimes they are in our routine day, like honey when I'm sick, or like making some massage, some different small practice we do. Try to perceive they are a way of self-care. And we have also extras for who are more curious, wants to go a little bit further. And we have the video, TED Listening to Shame from Brené Brown. I'm not sure if you already know it, but it's really important, because talking about diseases and illnesses is talking about shame of something we maybe didn't make perfectly. And we're gonna share with you the link, and also an article called Trusting the Wisdom of the Failing Body. So when my body is failing, maybe there's a wisdom in it. And it's a really long, big article, but you don't need to read everything, but you need to connect with the idea. And if you want, you can read it all, okay? So these are some exercises we're proposing, and this self-work is working for yourself, working for your self-care. So this is what would like you to offer today. And please,
Yes.
now that we just ended the presentation, we are open to more questions and ideas, and what would like to bring, what would like to see in the next meetings.
Very good. So we try in this first meeting to bring the general idea of what we'll be discussing in the book and the tools we'll be using. But as Fernanda said, usually in the beginning, people will be like, okay, where is it? What do I need to do? So we really expect that by the end of our club, you'll be able to have filled your self-care canvas in your timeline. There are many different ways of doing. There are people that usually do it right away. Okay, you know what? I just finished in the first meeting. And they'll be like, okay. And then there are people that'll be like, I keep looking at the canvas and nothing comes up. And that's okay too. Everyone at their own time will be discussing and bringing, and you don't need to present it to us. Don't worry about it. But if you want to talk about it, you're more than welcome to do. When we do have these courses that we have with over 400 people in the self-care course we deliver here in Brazil, in Portuguese, unfortunately. We have a one day that we talk about the canvas, and then when people feel invited, they talk about their story and how they feel the canvas, and that's okay too, and it's very beautiful to see other people. But during our meetings, when we talk about the canvas, we'll present some examples to help people to fill their own canvas. So that's helpful too, because of this database we have of over 100 canvas filled. We are thinking that it will be very helpful. So that's what we thought about the first meetings. That's what you expected. Are you still wanting to come for the next meetings?
Definitely. That was a really good opening, gave us a really good context of what we're going to be reading about and learning about together and discussing the different topics. So yeah, thank you for that. That was really great.
And the article that we put it as extra, actually now I'm doing a bioresonance systematic review, and then this article showed up because I was looking for biofield therapies and biofield products and everything, and I was like, oh, this is in English, let's bring to the conversation. So as Fernanda said, you're more than welcome to read it or just read parts of it, because the important is to read the book and then discuss with us. And please write your notes and bring we have other videos. Some of them are mostly in Portuguese in our website, but we have some other materials about self-care in English in the website. So if you feel that you want a little bit more exploration, just take a look too.
If you have any doubts, or if you don't, and you want to continue with the activity,
do we still have, if you don't mind, do we still have time for a question? You were talking in one of the last slides about health perspective, right? And you're talking about physical, energetical, emotional, mental. I understood perfectly, is related to each body, and spiritual health perspective. What does spiritual health perspective mean?
It could be comprehended as a perspective of desires, of purpose in life. It's one way of comprehending it. And in our way of comprehending, in conscientiological way, we could comprehend it in a parapsychic way. We have a verbete that is parapsychic health. Professor Valdo has written it, and then it's health in our more opened perspective, like our paragenetics, our synaletics, our not just in an energetic way, but how does this express, for example, our programmation to have a disease as a insurance if we go too fast in this life, for example. This is a perfect perspective we could consider, right? If I misuse my body, maybe this will pop up, open up a new problem, then I will manage with this. Or maybe this is in a more astrophysical way for our perspective.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
And it's interesting because usually people think about other concept of religion or something, but it's not the invitation. Maybe people will do that through religion, but here when we think about the spiritual health or the spiritual aspect of health, it's also including the purpose of your life, as Fernanda was saying, and how you connect all these different aspects in a way that creates a balance with your physical, and then your energetic, and then your social life. How do you balance this in the way that you find this is for your purpose of life? So this is a very good question. Thank you for asking it, Anthony. And we have time, I believe, for one more question if you want to, or if you have any difficulty of downloading the material on the website, or finding the book if you want to, do we have any problems with that?
We might send this down, or someone download and send in the groups. That would be nice. We can
Yeah, I've
arrange.
downloaded the
good,
Canvas,
yeah.
so I can share that, and the links and all that. We'll share that in the group. Yeah. I have just
Absolutely, yes.
it's probably more of a common, just a thought that I had in the course of your presentation. I'm sure we'll touch on that, but I'd be interested in your thoughts on that. So the thing that I was thinking about is the way we sort of have extremes, in a sense that I guess when you talk about magical thinking, that era, right, which is often in indigenous cultures, where almost all disease, or maybe even all disease, tends to be attributed to some kind of non-physical cause, whether it's intrusion. Often it's intrusion, right? Like a disease is often associated to some kind of energetic imbalance, an energetic imbalance in the body. And then on the other hand, you have the biomedical model, where that's completely excluded and all disease is attributed to some, I don't know, virus, bacteria, accident. Sometimes there's quite a large amount of, we don't really know what's causing this, but it has to be, right, organic failure or something. And I guess I think maybe for us, as we're approaching this, like we're all here because we appreciate the consciential paradigm, and we understand that multidimensionality, that we are multidimensional, that we are energetic, that we do subject to all kinds of influences, and that the physical body has its own factors, right? So it's kind of finding that I guess the balancing of all the different factors that can underlie disease. I think, yeah, I'm just looking forward to exploring that and getting some more clarity perhaps during the course of these discussions and reading your book.
Yes, this is what
Absolutely.
we try to do, is to go back in the way of the disease, to comprehend how does it begin in an energetic, in a consciential perspective, and what does it mean for the consciousness. This is our purpose. Yes, Kim. True. Very
And
important.
also
And I think this is the change we can do to really take more advantage, evolutive advantage of self-care and of this body. Not just taking care of this because we need it. No, taking care of this because this has this wisdom of showing us something sometimes we are not considering. But when it comes up, so I know there's something we can see. I know we are out of time, but we are having more examples in the next meetings.
Yes. And usually they don't come together. Like at the moment that you are passing through the disease, you'll be having some attitude. And then afterwards, what people bring is like, oh, you know what? It really helped me to re-perspective my life. And then you're like, okay, good. That's very important. So we'll bring examples and how people, because this exercise that you're trying to think in your mind, how to connect everything, this is people will show how they're doing, and then we'll also bring some ways of doing it. And also that's why part of the book is related to research and co-development of health, because then this is how you use all the information. Yay, lots of things to discuss in the following meetings. Good.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are out of time now. So thanks everybody for showing up. And thank you, Fernanda and Mariana, for a really great opening session. I don't know, Magali, Michiko, is there any other announcements we need to make at this stage?
No,
Can we
just
take a picture? Is that okay? I don't know
Yeah.
how you do it. Yeah, is that okay? We like to. Okay. So smile if you want, or take your camera off if you don't want to be part of it. That's okay.
So I
There you
think
go.
I think that's it. But Mariana and Fernanda, if you can stay, we are gonna have a little chat. Okay, thank you everyone, and see you next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.